here we go. So it says at the top, Laham Shechab law, that's the Nuk He Osios Mansapach, Shehim Sod Havaya Achas. Okay, I'm not sure why. V'Rabulham take B'Havaya Zu as Tzapach, the Nuk, the last three letters in the Nuk. Now, did we see that? I don't think we did. So he said so if you take V'Havaya and Tzvach Gematria Raya, now that's 26 and 170. So that comes out to be Raya. Let's see, Havaya 26, Tzvach is 70 is 190. There you go. Gematria Raya v'Kaven Oso B'Tzir Tov Kazeh. Now he says Kazeh, and then he says you have an Aleph and a K. Then you have a Havaya and the word Sfach, and it means Raya. Now, what's the Aleph and the K doing that? That's part of the name of the word Ata. Is that what it is? So he says, and just trying to put this in perspective, because we didn't go through everything, and I'd like to, before Rosh Hashanah, I'd like to get to the Zachrenos, which are a little bit further back. So we just, without making a pitched effort in here, I don't think that we can't get that far. It takes a while. So let's look over here at the light print on number Hakavanot. So what was I going to say? What was I going to say was this has to do with the Nesira. So every day that we're going through Nesira, he said when you say Baruch Atah, and then you could say Hashem also, because we're going to look at either today or next time we're going to look at the Zakifos. So, the Zakifos. So then we'll get to the name of Hashem. So he says, Hine Tevis Ata Ola Gaminyan Rayo Tzapach. It comes out to be Rayo Tzapach. The sound of the El Achedek Arisha, the hind of the Rayo. How do you get the Rayo? Amarams Baosios At. You can see that in the letters At. Shall Ata. Just two letters. Of the three, Al Yedechem Shemakafle. So how do you do this? Shemachfilin Oisum Eser Pamim, because we double them 10 times. Umoridim Mechem Dalit Osius Gichok. We said that before Knizkar, as we mentioned. What does that do? Amaromas Baos Hey Shal Ato, which is really a reference to that. How? Shahu Bechinas Rayo, which is also a Rayo. Kashahan Nitzaref, Love, Havaya Peshuta, Shigematria Ku. When you put into the number 26, you get 216. Because Van the Zuch near Mezes Baos Tov, so this really is a reference to the letter Tov. Shabbatevis Atov. Shetzaraso is also the tzura of a rayo, because you have that little foot that sticks out at the bottom of the tof, and therefore you get a rayo out of it. Now let's go over to the next place. I actually didn't look at that. I forgot about that one. I really started here. So you come in. So now we're going number to number. It says rayo number hey. So I see Rayo number Gibel. Okay, let me see how he's grabbing on it. Okay, so anyway, this is number Hey. And he writes, Yochel l'kalo v'lechaber shtei Rayo. There's a Rayo of Kaf Beit Osios, Umansapach, Barayo Echad. So you take the Kaf Beit Osios, you put it together with the Mansapach, and you've got a Rayo. Let's see how that works. Ki Aleph Hey the Ato, he says, like this is your Kavana. Haim Aleph Hey the Ekya. They're also the Aleph Hey the Ekya. Now where did Ekya come in? Ekya come in from outer space. It came in over here. The Tov Shetzir Rayo Hu Yud and K. Now this all has to be translated. The Ekya, Yud and K of Ekya. So now you have the Ekya, which has a gematria of Kaf Aleph. Ekya is 21. Kol Echad Kolul Ma'aser. Each one of them has 10 in it. Gematria Re. Then you take the Vav Osios, the Kasa, gematria Rayo. And so he shows it to us. He said you're going to work on these two letters. So this is the Aleph and the K here. And then you're going to have 10 Ekius, that's 220. And we're working with those letters again. He says, and then you're also going to add in, apparently, the milui of Kasa. Let's come over here and see a little bit more about how he explains this out and try to put the pieces together. He says, Rayo HaShlishi Shemarambas B'Tevis Atah Gasher Lokim as Shtei HaGavanos Shel Kaf Beis Asvon V'Chamesh Osius Mansepach V'Mechabrim Oisam Yachta. We put them together. But Tzarech L'Kaven, when you're doing that, Tevis Atam B'Tzir Ekia B'Oven De L'Cholona. He has to explain that as we're going on here. He says, what's it got to do with Ekia? Ki Kaf Beis Asben V'Chamesh Osius Mansepach. Let me get a drink here. My voice is a little cloudy. Ki Kaf Beis Asben V'Chamesh Osius Mansepach Meramazim B'Osius Aleph and K to the Tei Shel Ata. So here's an Ata and with a Toph in the middle of them. So he said, Ki Alam Ramaz Al Kaf Beis Osius. So how does an Aleph represent that? Because it's the beginning of the 22 letters, Shitaki Laws and Aleph. So it's a reference to number 22. V'hei Meramezes Al Chamisha Osius Mansepach. So now you have you have a label on them. How does that work? Shtei Osius Elul, Aleph and K, Shebetevez Ata, Hem Neged Shtei Osius Aleph and Hey Shebetevez Ekia. So we could put them over there on that Ekia. Again, why are we doing this? Vos Tov Shel Ata B'Ramazes. The Tov of Ata is a reference. B'Shtei Osius Yud and K Shel Ekia. How is that? Ki Hine Os Tov Yesh B'Ch Shlosha Chalokim B'Tzuras Rayo. Now they have three different parts of that one letter, and you could see how it becomes a rayo. The resh the resh, it has a vav metoch the resh. It has a metoch a rayo, which is the vav part. I guess that's what he's saying. It's a rasa kamon os hey. It really looks like a hey. Sheyesh ba resh. It has a resh, a pesocha kamin vav, and then inside of the resh, that means on the left side of the resh, there's like a vav to it. It's attached. V'yachdav hem kamo os hey achas, so they're like one hey keneged aleph de ekia, and you could put that corresponding to the aleph of the ekia. V'hayuda nishar ba'os tov, he keneged os yud de ekia. So he says the yud that remains out of the tov is that little leg that sticks out of the little piece, the ukutz at the bottom of the leg, keneged os yud de ekia. So he said, V'la'acha shabir ketzad tevis atah nirmezes b'tevis ekia. So there's a question of why or what it accomplishes by being related to the name ekia. Mivoyer atach b'ketzad ekia b'ramas the rayo. So how is it ekia has a relationship to rayo? That's the question. The hindik b'shem ekia ola kaf aleph. It has a gematria of 21. And this, the only answer that I have is that how these things are pulled out of the hat is that actually this is a cookbook, and the cookbook is coming from a higher level that we don't understand. So he says, here's the cookbook, because we're in the world of Asiya, we got to do it. So the concentration is, so take that, you get to the number 210. So that name Ekia the Kasa b'milu yudin gazeh, and so he shows you the Kasa, Aleph Lamed Fei, etc. He says Yesh B'Ro Be'ezer Osius. It has 10 letters. So in order to make this work out, he says this is your kavana. As Arba Osius Ekia b'Shuta. That was what we saw up at the top here, where we were just the vav Osius the Kasa. Is on the left side, he says, Yishara Rak Shesh Osius Amili, then you only have 6 letters. And this is the combination that is used at this point to be able to produce the concept of rayo. Now, this is telling that we need more than one rayo. You need 5 rayos here. So he said, V'Shesh Osius Elul Shel Milui Ekia, Mitzarfim el asarim apamim ekya, and that's your kavanah right there, which is re biyachdav. It's ryo again. So this is the ryo that he's producing over there. Now let's go to the next one, number Kaf Ches. So lamalos ha'ekya begimel miluyim. So we're going to take the ekya and we're going to spread it out into its three miluyim, which are kasa, kamag, and kana. He said, let's say lamalos ha'avaya begimel miluyim. He said, miluyim v'heim gematria tana. They come to gematria 455 if you take the three of them together. V'lahamshicham l'nuk, and then after that, your idea is to send them over to the nuk. V'al yadam ta'ala hanuk, and as a result of sending this into the nuk, so we got back into the ekiyas again, but you're sending them into the nuk. B'skifos, when you start to lift your head up, your body, first is your body, and then your head. So he said, "B'chanuk b'zkifos b'hei mekomos shel kavai v'adni gematria tona." Let me see what that last part. V'yadam ta'ala hanuk b'zkifos b'hei mekomos, into the 5 different levels that she has to go up. Shel kavai v'adni, which the combination we said before of avaya and adni, which is that, I guess it's the catalyst that allows it to grow, gematria tana. You put it all together, it comes out to be these 3 together, come out to be tana. And let's read a little bit more here. He says after that, the hamshik lo ha'ara, the ha'ara, ha'ches v'ha'gimel atzman l'nuk. So he says the heichasadim, I'm sorry, the hamshik ha'ara, the heichasadim v'heigavurus atzman l'nuk, to send those down into the nuk. And he has then a tzir of the heichasadim on the right side, of the heigavuras on the left side. So all of this is being sent to the nuk. So this is all coming to her, so being sent to the nuk. So let's read the number Kaf Ches down below. He says that Shem Ekya Shenirmas B'Tevis Atah. So we went through that before about the name Atah, because what are we doing? We're saying the name Atah. And we went through a process of explaining how it is that Atah really is represented by the name Ekya. Then we took over here, now we're taking 3 Ekyas, and we're sending them into the Nuk. That's our Kavanah. And then along with these 5 Chasadim and 5 Gavuros, is what he says. So Naz Hashem Ekya Nirmaz B'Tevis Atah. Yesh B'Chad Shalosh Miluyim. It has, you could take Ekya and you can make it 3 Miluyim out of it. Milui Yudikazeh. So he shows them to us. I'm not going to say them all out. Number Kaf Tes. So by using those 3 miluyim of Ekya, which are Kasa, Kana, and Kamag, Shebegematria Tana, Ola Habanuk Hamisha Holios, that this causes the 5th, her to reach the height of the 5th Aliyah, Shehem Sod Chameshes Pamim Havai Adni, Shehem Gam came Begematria Tana. Now that last part is not really sinking in well with me. So I understand that he sent the Kasa Kana Kamag. Let me read it again. Gematria Tana comes to the Gematria of 455. Ola Hanuk, with this, the Nuk goes up to the 5th level of Elios. Shehem Sod Chamesha Pamim Havaya Adni. So you add up 5 Havaya, because again, I was using the word catalyst for the Havaya Adni Shulav. Shehem Gam came Begematria Tana. So this is telling you that these 2 things are equivalent. That is the 5 levels of Havaya Adni and these 3 names of Ekya. Now we're going to go on and look at this part. So he goes and explains it more. What happens after you've done that? So that's the first part, as you're sending her this chef of the 455s. So number Lamed said, Laham Shechabadam Achre Chesed Gevur Chavaya V'Adni. So this is just telling you where the 5th level is. He said, V'chamesh Pamim Kaf Hey. So we said once before, or we said it several times, that the 25 that's contained are the 25 different Havayas here. Let's see, I always get mixed up. There's 5 in each one, that's right. And each one of them is a 25. Comes out to be 25, because each one of them has its own set. So he said, "V'chamesh pa'amim kaf hey b'chochma bina das chesed gevura." So we're taking all of this, the 5 times 25, that comes out of the chochma and bina das chesed gevura. So that is, where are they going? Let's see. What's actually sending down is not everything. You're sending down chochma, bina, das, chesed, and gevura. That's the first 5 spots as you're going into Zir Anpin. Or you're going into Zir Anpin for the purpose of what? Sending it over to the nukva of Zir Anpin? Let's see what he says. He says, Chamisha oliyus ola hanuk. Arba bechem heim lamata mechachaza. Shegavar nis baruch u'banasa and the el b'tevis baruch. So in Baruch you had 4 different aliyahs that had with the banuk, and he showed them to us. Ketzad heim ramozim bebechinas rayo. So we showed how it is that each one of them is an aspect of the rayo. So you see this rayo is the agent, gevura is the agent of separating the nuk from Zer Anpen, which is the Nasira. But you're using a gevura, which I think that's what it means, or the gevura, which is a rayo. And so this is a tremendous help to the Jewish people, if you could be able to actually bring that in so that the dinim do take place, but that they're taking place in the sweetest possible way. Because, once again, the world is made out of gevuros, so therefore you got them, whether you want them or not, trying to sweeten them up. The 5th one has to be with the chagat. So you have, once again, we're saying the word atah, and you have to have kavanah on them at this time. Being called aliyah nirmezed b'shem, he says it very nicely. He says that every aliyah is really referenced by the name Havaya Adni, She'olet Tzadi Aleph, that comes to that gematria of 91. Of the nos of the kach, in addition to this, so why those 5? So he answers, we don't count them. Why? Because Malchus is now on the 5th level. They're the lower 4 levels. And they're done. That's the actual explanation of what we have over there. He called pratios. You put that together with the 91, you're going to get Ryo again. Okay, so these are the Ryos that you're doing as we're going down. Now the next one is just the name Havaya. So Havaya now is a Zakifa already. The Chaber, so he says, the rule he says here is the Chaber, the Vav and K, the Av, the Zakifa Zu, Im Yud K, the Kasa. So we're coming up and we're bringing everything up with us. This is what he says, is that you have, once again, the last 2 letters of and he says of Av, and so this is a pasha. It said like this. So if it's Av, it's going to be Vav Vav Yud Vav and K Yud. That's really spent the whole thing out. Let's see how it goes. The Zakifa Zu, and you're going to take those 2, the last 2 letters of the Av, and you combine them with the first 2 letters of Kasa, or the last 2 letters of Kasa. My mistake. Yeah, so he said the Kriya Rishona, which is what happened when we bowed down, we're going to try to combine them with those which is down below already. And he said, then he prints out the name Av. Now he says, we have our first note here. What are we doing here? We're now bringing things up. The Alos, Aleph, the Adni, Im Yud. So the idea is to elevate the Aleph of Adni with the letter Yud, the Chavayim, B'shneichen Gematria Kala, and they come to the Gematria of 131. And he shows you 111 and 20 is 131. That's what Aleph and Yud, if you spell them out, come to that Gematria, 111 and 20. So he says, so there are going to be some notes here, and we still have a little time. So he said, the La'alos Das Kal. So this phrase, I'm not 100% sure that I got it, but he says the das of the nook is called the das kal. That I know. So he says la'alos das kal denuk ola imakolel. So that it turns out that das kal, I'm not sure how that works, imakola gematria kala. So he says if you take the kola with the word kal, you get the word kala, which is 131. And then he shows you these 5 havayos, which is 130. And then he shows, that's it. That's what he shows us. Let's see let's read it over here. And this is our first Sakifa. And the first Sakifa then is going to say, Os Yuda Havaya Dazah, Nemsheches al Os Aleph Da'adni Shuhu Bechinas Nuk. So that's part of the kavana that I probably remember that kavana. In order to raise it up until it reaches the chest. So through streaming down the yud into the nuk, which is what we're talking about right now. La'alos mebriya b'ad chaza the Atzilut to come up from Bria until she reaches the chaza of Atzilut. U'me'acher v'al yedecha b'cha kriyos b'tevis baruch, says you did baruch and you did the word ato, baruch ato. Yored the yud l'chavai l'gabe alav da'adni. So that all brings down the shefa coming down to the nuk. And we said that it's giving her the potential to be able to come up. Yesh l'kavin ata, but now here, so that you brought that down, and that Baruch Hashem. Basis akifos, v'tevis havaya. Now you say the word havaya, it's a magic word. What does it do? Is la'alos shtei osius elu imilu eichem gezeh, and then with their milui, which is Yud and Aleph, Yud Vav Dalet 20 plus 111 is 131. Shegematria Kala. Ki al yedecha zakifa. Ma'ala Yud the Chavaya, because what does the Akifa does? That Yud that you brought down before with the original Kavana you had when you said Baruch, for example. As Akifa Ma'ala Yud the Chavaya as Aleph the Adni, you're able to brace up that little aspect of the Adni, which is Malchus. Mibria the Atzilus, from Bria into Olam Atzilus. Number Lamed Beis. He says, Hainu Shtei Osius Aleph the Adni v'Yud the Chavaya. That's what you're bringing up, all of this milui. So now he says, let me read the black print along with it, so we'll try to help the context. La'alos das kal, the nuk. So her das is kal. That's the way I understand it. Let's see how he says it. Ha'ola imakola gematria kala. So apparently this number kala, 131, is important. So he says, Anuk ba'ode b'briya, nechse b'mene b'chinas adas, shuhu sod av kal. So he says that this is the secret of 72 plus 130, which is 202. Okay, at any rate, he said, b'briya nechse b'mene b'chinas adas, shuhu sod av kal, which is, she. So that's maybe something I don't know. So he says that in the Nuk, in Olam Bria, in relationship to Atzilut, she has no das. So you say the word baruch, oluku, which comes to the number 26 of kal, the baruch, which comes to he's saying that baruch comes to the gematria of ku av kal. Is that right? Baruch is 228. Esadashala. This has the ability. Let me read it again. Baruch, which is the gematria of ku av kal. Esadashala. It brings that up, or it brings it into her. Even though she's now in Bria, but she has already the medicine or the growth catalyst that's going to make her grow inside of her. So that after that, the Bria to become out of that the Bria, the parts of Shalom. So with a das, so she has the potential for the das, but it can only be manifest there. So now though you're raising everything up. As shefach das, we have the kavana here to elevate the shefa, the das shenitan benuk be'es achrios that is given to the nuk at the time where she bows her head down. And maybe v'chamesh chavayas, so we say then bring these 5 chavayas, and shehem chamesh gevuros, v'chamesh pamim ku comes in the makriya kal, v'ima kolel ola kala, so kala. So we got kala. Kala is, I guess, the kal. I'm not sure why you need it to be kala. That's a little. I understand kal. She's das is kal. So he saw her das is kal. You add the aleph onto it, it's das kala, and apparently that's a mechanism for lifting her up. Now let's see how much more of this we could do, because after this and next week we're getting really close. And the Nesira takes place during Zachrenu. So that's why I'd like to jump over there. There's so much in here. It could go on and on and on. But we'd have to, when I'm in Israel, Yoli went to, I'm not able to move around as much as I used to. So Yoli went to the Kotel, and underneath the Kotel, I remember Rabbi Memram's talking about there's a group down there that davens v'sikin using RASHASH. And they went on a tour, and the guy took them to the room. Maybe another time to get there to get to the Kotel is always a hassle, because where to park and how to do all of that is always a hassle. If you had a place like in the old city, it will be possible to actually go to that minyan. I don't have any idea what it's like, but the guide was showing that to Yoli. Anyway, that's where you could be doing this, and what a davening it would be. So we're on number Lamed Daled. Let me get up here at the top. And we see that the RASHASH needs a lot of explanation, assuming that at the time that this was written, these were written down, that the people in the Chabura was teaching understood the missing parts. They understood the root, which I don't. I'm really looking at the outside wrapper and trying to understand what's inside of it, so to speak, as we saw in the Patach Eliyahu yesterday. So he says, Aleph Yud Adni, those 2 letters were up at number Lamed Daled. Gematria Kala. So that gives you the Kala. Maybe this gives us a little definition of why we needed the Kala. So he says, again, Aleph Yud Adni, Gematria Kala, it's going to come out if you spell them out. Im harishon gematria rayo. So im harishon, I don't know what the rishon is, but he says it's gematria kala umu. So kala and the milui of av. So he says here's aleph yud. So that's 111 and 20 is 131. That's your number. If you spell them out, it comes to be kala. And we said in the previous one that what happens in Kala is that you're bringing the Das into the Nuk, even though she's in Olam Abriya, because or we already did that, and now we're going to bring it back up. So he says Aleph Yud, and then he shows us Aleph Yud again, and then he says the Milui of, maybe those 2 go together, I'm not sure, the Milui of Av. So he says, and the words are on number Lamed Ches, he says, Yud de Chavaya v'Aleph de Adni, v'Aleph Yud de Ad de Pashut, and just those 2 by themselves in the Pashut without a Milui. Haramazin Baroshe Tevas Hashem Elokein Hashem Echad Gematria Kaf Beis comes a Gematria Kaf Beis. I don't know how to count it up. We'll see how he does it. La'alos HaKaf Beis Asfan. And what's the idea? Is that originally the 22 letters were poured into the Nukva. So he says, here you have these words. They begin with Yud, Aleph, Yud, Aleph. Well, he has Havaya Elokeinu, Havaya Echad. And then he shows the 22 letters, which is interesting. He puts it in the group of 11. So he groups and he pairs them. Now, why he did that, I don't know. So I don't know the answer to that at this time. Let's see if I could make a laning in this part here. He said, the Shem Adni, Atzmo, Yeshbo, Osius, Aleph, and Yud. Okay, so that would be the first letter and the last letter should be Gematria Kala. So if you put them in a milui, we already went through that. That's it. Aleph Yud, Rishon Shenizka, the Ale that the Aleph Yud that we mentioned previously, the Hainu Yud, the Chavavaya, the Aleph, the Adni, and you combine them. I had to read this again. Shehu Gam Kem Gematria Kala. So you're putting the two of them together. So let's read it one more time. He says, Kasher B'tzarfim Osam El Aleph Yud Harishon. What's the first Aleph Yud that we talked about? Shenizker, the El, we mentioned it. Behind the Yud the Havaya, the Aleph the Adni. So that was down there already because the Yud went down there in the Baruch the Baruch part. Shehu Gam came B'gematria Kala, which is also Kala. Kasher B'milu Kazan. So there's the Aleph Yud. There's also a Kala. Harechem Olin L'Cheshbon Reish Samach Beis. They come to 131, 132, and 1 is 262. Shul Gematria Raya Umu. Now, what does this do for you? I don't know. But that's the fact. He says, this is your menu. This is your kavana. If you can learn how to do this, it's a big, big help to make everything sweeter. So Harechem Olim L'Cheshbon Rasav. Shul Gematria Raya Umu. Amaram is the Bechinas Raya, which is a reference to Raya, because you see there's a Raya there. V'al Hamilu the Shem Av, so it's a reference to two things. He says one of them is to the V'al Hamilu the Shem Av. So excuse me. Let's see. Amaram is the Bechinas Raya. V'al Hamilu the Shem, and then add that in. She'olamu kumavor l'cholon, so it comes to that number. So he says Aleph Yud. So now we have this Aleph the Adni v'Yud the Havaya. That's he's showing it to us up above here. Aleph and Yud. He says Aleph Yud, Aleph the Yud the Adni Atzmo, v'Dalet Vav Dalet Yud and Yud Vav and Yud, which are the milui of Av. Kashen Nikach Hashem Av Kazem. So he shows us Av. Take away the Chavaya, v'nidol b'menach b'zar ba'osis and peshutas Havaya Atzman. Yishara rak osis and milui, which is this, which is a gematria of 46, should be gematria mo. Ki be'esa kriya, ki vodach of the shem eki, because when we're bowing down, the concept is we're making an eki yachud b'milui yudin, the milui of yudin. So now, when we're coming out of the Zechifa, Choyzach of the Shefach Hazeh Shal Chavaya B'milu Yudin V'Olu L'Malo. That's a little over my head, he said, because he said, Ki Be'ez Achriya, when you're bowing down, Ki Vono D'Shem Eki B'milu Yudin. So that's what he says. He says, I thought that, I'm really confused. There's so many things here. But we'll just keep reading along to try to get ourselves familiar with the Bekiah of this. So we'll come back to this the next year. That was the end of that shir. I went just through that, and that's what we did. This is Baruch Fleischman, and you're listening to the Tikkun Elevator Kol El, trying to follow along.